All right, we are back with a new episode of the Building a Buzz podcast with my fiance,
Guys.
Tia. Last time it was girlfriend, so this time it's an exciting episode for us. Tia is now my fiance. Clap it up.
This audience is wild in here, guys.
All right, so this time we wanted to chat about our experiences with hosting influencers. We've been fortunate enough to have out many different influencers and have been through lots of different scenarios with them. So we have a few pointers on things to look out for, how to reach out to them, how to execute on having them out, and lots more. So without further ado, let's do it.
Okay, so let's start off by building a scenario. So it's 2021, you're a new, established, old, whatever company, business, and you're on your Instagram or Facebook page, your website, wherever, and you get a message. The message is from a influencer, clearly an influencer, and they're reaching out to see if they can experience your business or company and would love to collaborate for a free, comped, just anything in exchange for promoting your business. So now that we have all of the background details, we're going to talk about the do's, the don'ts, and best practices of how to handle this scenario when you do have someone reaching out and wants to experience your business. So the first thing that I would suggest you do is do a little scan of their profile, their website. If they're going to message you from like Instagram or Facebook, the first thing you want to do is check out their page because that shows a lot. Justin, I feel like the number one thing that we do when we go to a restaurant or anything is check out their social media, it's just the same thing if someone reaches out to you. The first thing you should do is scan their stuff.
Yeah, you want to make sure that the content they're posting matches up with whatever it is that you're offering. So if you're offering for us like a kayak experience, but then a foodie reaches out and wants to come out, on a tour, is that really going to make sense for you? It could, if they're local to the area, they have a big local following and it makes sense, but I think that's what Tia's trying to get at here is that you really have to look at their profile and make sure that their whole vibe is matching, your style and what you're hoping to get out of it.
Yeah, not even looking at, so like right now we're not even touching what their following count is. We're just looking at their overall branding. Like, is it a mix of business photos of what they're actually, not business photos, but is it a mix of like professionally taken photos where they're doing consistent partnerships and a mix of like them out drinking? And you need to make sure that it makes sense, like Justin said, and also make sure it's good quality content. If someone is taking all these images and they're like super pixelated or they're just not good quality, are you going to repost it? Is it going to make sense? Like that is the first thing is, you don't want to judge a book by its cover, but if they are someone worth partnering with, you want to make sure that it just makes sense from the surface.
Yeah, are they taking their pictures on an Android or an iPhone?
Oh my God. I mean, I will say I have seen some Android-y photos and it just doesn't compare to Apple photos, but.
And you really just need to compare it to the vibe that you're looking to get out of it and whatever it is that you've been posting on your own social media. Make sure that it makes that better or at least matches the vibe that you've been using.
Yep. So that's definitely the most important first thing to do is just, let's get that overall look of what's going on with their page. I think the second most important thing to do is let's look at their following. I'm not talking about if they have 1 million followers versus 1,000 followers. The numbers actually don't matter as much as people think. We've hosted people with Get Up and Go before with, tens of thousands of followers, and we've hosted people with hundreds of thousands of followers. And sometimes the people with less followers have more of an engagement and impact on...
And that's our dog.
I was going to tell Justin to cut, but whatever. I think it just adds a little bit to the podcast. This is our everyday life. We're filming this in Justin's office, and we have been trying to keep the dogs pretty quiet for the past few minutes while we got set up. So I'm sure that's not going to be the first that you hear from them. So just saying hi. So Justin, if you want to add on to that with the numbers actually don't matter as much as people think.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll find that even the smaller influencers or the micro influencers or the local bloggers go even harder than the people that have the larger followings because they want to over deliver. Whereas the people with these large followings feel like they're doing you the favor. But sometimes the people with the smaller followings go really hard, take a lot of pictures and videos and do a really good blog or a post about you.
They work for it.
Yeah. So like she's saying, the numbers don't necessarily matter. And further on that, yesterday we had a good example of this. We had someone with she had like 3 million followers.
3 million followers, guys.
Yeah, she reached out to us. Surface level looked like it would have been potentially a decent partnership.
Oh, yeah.
But Tia did a little bit more digging, and what'd you find?
I'm going to just say that in my past life, I was an FBI agent. Lurking is my forte. Yep. So naturally, I'm like, Justin's like, she has 3 million followers. We are going to, like, we're going to host her, right? And I'm like, okay. He's very excited about this. Very good looking woman. She was like...
That wasn't what had me excited.
Okay, well, she looked like a Sports Illustrated model. She was beautiful. But I was like, listen, 3 million followers, reaching out to us, cool. The message she sent wasn't very, like, professional, which is okay. Like, we don't usually get super, like, structurally written messages like, hello, I'm from... So, like, It's fine. So I went to her followers. First, I scrolled through her Instagram photos, and I was like, 3 million followers... Obviously, that doesn't mean you're going to get 3 million likes on your photos and stuff like that. But the numbers just, to me, were a little skewed. Justin didn't think so. And I said, okay, babe, let's look a little deeper. So I go to her following. I'm scrolling through. And every single one of the profiles that followed her were people that were from, like, God knows where. And when you clicked on their page, they had either 0 followers, 1 followers, 2 followers, no photos. They were clearly fake accounts, like bot followers. So Justin's like, okay, let's scroll a little deper. Like you're kind of on the...
I was like, there's no way they're all like this.
I said, oh yeah? Let me keep scrolling. And I did a little like my finger was going. I'm like, look, I'm gonna keep scrolling. Look. And
it was everyone.
Yes. I scrolled for a good 30 seconds, I'm just kidding, like 20 seconds. And I sure as hell got to the bottom, clicked on more. I'm like, look, 0 followers, 1 follower, 2 followers. Guys, it just did not make sense. And once I showed him that, he was like, okay, that is weird.
Yeah, it was, something was a little off about it. So just goes to show, don't look at follower count right off the bat. You have to do a little bit more digging because you will run into these types of scenarios. And there are people out there, even smaller accounts. We've seen people with 10,000 followers or 5,000 that have just fake followers. And
it's crazy.
And the engagement isn't there. You can scroll through the post. And I think the next step here is to actually, click into some of the posts and see what people are saying in the comments and seeing what the interactions are. And getting a gauge for that, because you can tell on some of these accounts, if you have 20,000+ followers, you should be getting a couple comments on every picture with some sort of engagement. And we've come across a lot of pages that just will have, 20 likes with 30,000 followers and no comments. And you're like, and it just doesn't add up. So yeah, what are you looking for next after you've looked at follower count and then kind of looked at engagement?
Yeah, the next thing I'm going to look at is where the influencers are from. So I work also, in addition to owning a Get Up and Go location and doing marketing for the main Get Up and Go account, I also do marketing and social media for the Melting Pot restaurant here in Orlando. So we've had people reach out before that are like, hey, me and so are going to be in town. We would love to show our followers your restaurant, or people even for the kayaking. They're coming from out of state. They're like, I have such a good following. Like, I want to show off what a cool activity. I will say that we are a tourist destination. So when people are from out of state, yeah, like sometimes it does make sense, like, to host them. Maybe one day some of their following will come visit Florida, but it doesn't make sense all the time. For example, with Melting Pot, like years ago, we had someone reach out from a magazine in Chicago. They're like, would love to come experience it. It's me and my mom. I'm the editor, not editor, but like journalist for this magazine. I'd love to write about it. It just didn't make sense at the end of the day. I was like, listen, I'm going to keep your information on hand just in case we want to collab in the future. You want to be polite, but also, does it make sense, guys? Like, we always keep coming to that. Like, do we want to host an influencer from California who has a majority California following? Like, is that going to make sense for us to yeah, we might get some interactions out of it, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, I always like to see where they're from and if it clicks with our branding.
Yeah, and I think the time that it does make sense the most is when their content is like so good that we're essentially giving them this free experience so that we can get really good content out of it and be able to share it with our following, use it on our website, whatever that may be. So we're always looking at that. Like it always comes back to like, how good is their content? If their content is not good and they have a really great following, we're most likely not going to host them. If their content is really good and they have a small following, we're most likely going to host them because it's going to help add to what we're currently doing and the vibe of our page and how we want to display our brand.
Yeah, and I think just coming back to the point where seeing where they're from, where they're, based out of. So, for example, with the restaurant thing, my boss has my job as the social media marketing because he wants to see what I'm doing influence who's coming into the doors of the restaurant and to increase sales. That should be the focus of any social media or marketing person for any brand. If I host someone from California, Idaho, New York, wherever, to come into our restaurant, is my boss or my manager, whoever, going to see a direct impact of that partnership bringing in revenue to that business? Is it going to increase our sales? Is it going to, at the end of the day, if you're hosting or comping someone, you are spending your own money. Even if, on the surface it looks free, like you have staffing, you are, spending money on products. Someone else could be coming to pay for that. So you're like giving up money, you're dishing that money out. Is that going to make you guys money in turn?
Yeah, exactly. So you have to figure that out. See if it makes sense for you and determine if you're going to get a return on that when you're making that decision. So we get a lot of these influencers that when they do reach out, we typically ask them a few questions, which usually helps us kind of weed out the ones that we don't think are going to be a good fit if we're kind of on the fence with them.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of these questions or some things to ask an influencer, maybe even if they haven't reached out, but if we're trying to reach out to them, what are just typical questions that we're usually asking?
Yeah, so I feel like the number one question I ask across the board is if someone reaches out to us, I'm always like, awesome, do you have a media kit, a website, a blog? Like that media kit will show you if they have a website or blog. So that kind of is all in one,
Mm-hmm.
which is a great way to ask. If they're like, what's a media kit? No. Like sweetie, Google it. Like that is definitely one of the main questions I ask. Do you have a media kit? Can you link me to your website? Also, I'll just come out and say it. Like, I'll ask, like, hey, can you send me, like, some of your engagement stats? Like, if it's someone that I can't get a gauge on from looking at their Instagram and, like, doing my hardcore lurking, I'll just come out and ask. I'll be like, hey, I just want to make sure that this is a good fit. Like, do you mind sending me some of your engagements or your impressions or your media kit so I can just make sure it's a good partnership?
And all they have to do is screenshot their impressions on Instagram. It shouldn't be that hard.
No.
And they shouldn't have anything to hide. So
No.
you should be able to see those things. The media kit is a great way to get a vibe of how serious they are about being an influencer.
Mm-hmm.
And we look for, specifically in the tourism industry, we look for people that write blogs a lot because that helps with our SEO on our website. It helps with, just the search in general of our company, things like that. So it has to make sense for the industry that you're in too. If you're not looking for bloggers and you're just looking for someone that gets great content, then you got to think of it from that perspective. But for us, if someone has a website and if someone has like a cool blog, like we love that. And will definitely host people that don't have big followings because they have this blog or something that, adds to our online presence.
Yeah, it all just depends on what you're looking for. Like, I know earlier I said if someone's not from the area, like maybe it doesn't make sense. But if you're just looking for someone to take bomb ass photos and you're not looking for like, people to come in because of them or referrals, if they take incredible photos, by all means,
Yeah, do it.
Do it. Like, if it makes sense for what you need in your business at that time, like if you're like, damn, I need to get out there and get really good photos of like our new location. This influencer doesn't have following at all, but they take incredible photos. It makes sense. Do it. If you have a new cocktail at your restaurant and someone takes incredible cocktail photos and they're from Arizona, it doesn't make sense to host them if you're looking for, a return on them spreading the word. But if they take incredible cocktail photos, it makes sense. Use them. Like, think about what your goal is and if it makes sense, and then use them or don't. So I think we kind of touched on what you want to look at before you get that influencer. Now let's take a look at or talk about once you decided that the influencer makes sense for your brand or your company, and the process of getting them on board and what you need to do to make sure that they follow through with what you want.
Yeah, and a lot of people here use like a contract or something like that. We don't do that with the kayaking thing. I think it's a little impersonal.
But sometimes it makes you freaking want to, honestly.
Yeah, I know. There are times where we're like, dang, I wish we did have something kind of written down. And we've never really been burned to where we've needed to. But sometimes we expect a lot of people and then they just under deliver and you're kind of disappointed. So it's definitely something to take into consideration to have some sort of just written contract. But typically we will send them exactly what we're looking for. So if there's someone that takes really nice drone shots, for example, we'll say, hey, we want a couple of drone shots of this one specific area at this one specific location, and try to get those specific, terms written down at least before they come out. And then that way there's really no confusion on what you're looking for and what they can offer. And then also like little things for us, it's giving our tour guides a tip at the end of the tour. Like we tell them, like, bring a tip. We're covering your experience. We're covering the cost of it. Please just bring a little extra tip for the tour guide that's going out of the way to bring you out there to spend the time with you. Things like that are great to have, at least talked about before the tour. Don't just let them come to your experience or your restaurant without clarifying some sort of deliverables that you're hoping for.
Yeah, people are not mind readers, and I think that we need to remember that. Sometimes you have beginner influencers or someone who's been doing it for a while, and maybe they've been doing it a certain way for a while. If you want something and you expect something of them, have it written down and ask them. Like, people don't know exactly what you're looking for when they're reaching out or when you're reaching out. Have it down in writing. It doesn't need to be a sign on the dotted line contract like Justin said. It makes it a little impersonal, but make sure that you have a clear conversation in writing, maybe via email, via DMs. So that way, if you're not getting what you've agreed to, you say, hey, remember our conversation, or as per our conversation, this is something that was a deliverable for me that I was like wanting out of this partnership. And at the end of the day, it might just be bad karma if they don't do it and you move along. But 9 times out of 10, I will say they'll do what is asked for to get that experience or that product or that, whatever they're looking for. And most of the time when we don't get something in return, it's because we didn't specifically ask. And no expectations, no letdowns is how I see it. So people aren't mind readers.
And if you follow the advice that Tia was talking about at the beginning about just doing your due diligence on their social media profiles, you'll probably have a good idea of what they're going to be able to deliver. And so there's been influencers that we've had out that we don't even really need to have these conversations with, because we know based on what they've been posting, you can tell they've done recent partnerships. You can tell that they're going to deliver a lot of stuff. And so there are times where we don't necessarily go too in-depth crazy about it because we know just based off of that research that we've done that they're most likely going to deliver the things that we're looking for. And sometimes we like to let them do their thing. Like if they're a photographer, we don't tell them the spots that we need photographed. We just let them come out and get a whole unique perspective on what it is that they're doing.
And then just some examples on everything we've been talking about. if let's say one of our new Get Up and Go locations is going to open up some glow tours and they've never offered that before, if an influencer wants to work with us or we want to reach out to a local influencer to do a collab, we're going to say to them, hey, we are now opening a glow tour at this location. We'd love to have you out if you can get some footage of the glow tour. If at the restaurant we have a new lunch promo and someone reaches out or we reach out and we want to host them, hey, when you come out at this time, can we talk about X, Y, and Z? This is a new lunch promo. Give them the material so that way they know what you want to cover. That is what we're talking about. Lay it out. Let them know, hey, bring a little bit of extra cash for a tip. We're going to cover everything else. Don't ever leave it bland, like we'll take care of it. Tell them what you're going to take care of. It's a comp for you and a friend, or it covers X, Y, and Z. Let them know the exact what you're doing for them and what you want in return, and you are good to go.
Yep. And then, so after they've done all this and after they've came out to whatever it is that you're offering, what are we typically doing afterwards to make sure that we're either getting the content or we're maximizing on the content that they sent us? What are some things to do afterwards?
Yeah, so I think it's important to note that when you are doing the initial conversation with the influencer about hosting them, that's something you want to mention, like, hey, I'm going to run this special, or we're launching this new thing, or let them know, hey, if you can get this to me within a week, just let them know when you want it by. So that way, if you don't have the content or the post by then, you can follow up. Let them know, hey, if I host you, I'd love for you to post on your stories, post on one of your highlights. Follow up with that. Just make sure that they're doing what you've asked. And also maybe coordinate with them so that way you can post at the same time. If they're, like, for example, we have a girl that we bring out from TikTok, and she'll post about it on her stories. We'll share it on our page when she posts about it on her stories. We'll usually coordinate posting something around the same time. So that way when people come to our page after they've checked out us from her story, they can interact with us. So you kind of want to just coordinate different things that are going to be posted and make sure that it's kind of scheduled up correctly.
Yeah, and I think to add on top of that, it sounds like it would be common sense, but every time after we host an influencer, we like to send some sort of personalized thank you, making sure that they had a great time and kind of following up on their experience to make sure that it was everything that we promised on our end. It ensures that the quality was there from us and also shows that we care enough to make sure that we gave them what was promised on our end. And it kind of opens that door a little bit easier to ask for those pictures or videos if they maybe haven't sent them, right away. It's kind of a good way to keep that conversation going. You don't just do the experience and then not say another word to them and wait for them to
Give me my photos.
Yeah, so it's a good way to kind of work into that conversation. And there's been instances too where we'll actually put together some sort of little promo package or something for the specific people that we're having out, whether it's just giving them a shirt or a thank you card or something like that. If you can do those little things to go the extra mile, I think that helps a lot. And the hope is, since they're influencers, maybe they have some influencer friends. And if you're that company that's really cool and you went above and beyond as a company to them, and they're not getting that treatment from other companies, the hope is they'll refer you to their friends and to their following even more. And so those are some little extra things to do afterwards to try to keep that conversation going and to boost the whole, hosting them and having them out.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. Also, make sure you give them all the hashtags you'd like them to use, all of your handles, get permission to use all their photos, repost, share. Just because you're giving something to someone for free, because technically it is free, doesn't mean that it's automatically a good value. So make sure that if you're giving them a dinner for $3, a tour at one of our locations, whatever it could be, that doesn't mean just because it's free, they're going to enjoy it. Like Justin said, follow up, make sure they had a great time. There are some times where maybe you have an employee who's like, oh, it's going to be free. And their attitude shines through that. They didn't pay for it. So they're going to be just an Instagram or whatever, it's not going to be worth, you don't want people to ever have that perception. So like Justin said, following up means everything. Most of the time they have an amazing time, but it's also a good way to kind of make sure that your business is doing everything that they should for the guests as well.
Yep, exactly. And so, with that, what are some of our best experiences with influencers that you would say?
Oh my gosh. So,
I know your first one. Come on now.
okay. So, well, how long ago was
That
this?
was
Last year
last summer. Yeah,
almost.
last summer.
Guys, we had. Do you want to tell them?
You got it.
So, we had an incredible opportunity. I was obviously doing our social media and reaching out to different people in Florida that would make sense for us to host, and a light bulb went off. I had just started getting into The Bachelor the last few years, I think starting with Colton season, and I heard that Matt James, I was going to say Matt Cameron. Woo, I was thinking of both of them.
Oh my gosh.
I heard that Matt James is going to be the next Bachelor, and I knew that during quarantine, I like discovered him during quarantine because he was posting on TikTok with like Tyler Cameron and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, Tyler Cameron is from Jupiter. They're all staying together in Jupiter. It would make so much sense for us during bio season or whatever season to host them on a tour. I reached out, not thinking anything of it. I was like, ugh, like if he responds back, I'd be lucky.
Who did you reach out to first?
I reached out to both of them.
Okay.
Tyler Cameron and Matt James. I reached out.
Okay.
And it was really smart to do it because Matt James wasn't at the point where he had like 1 trillion followers yet because he was not the Bachelor yet. I think they had just announced that he was going to be our next Bachelor. I was just like, let me just freaking reach out. I think I reached out to everyone in their little quarantine crew, actually. I think I reached out to their damn...
I remember Hannah Brown was there, right?
Yeah, I reached out to everyone. And sure as heck, I get a response from Matt James. I about passed out. Just kidding. I was like, Justin, oh my God, he responded. And a lot of the time we'll have people respond. Like we've had celebrities respond to us before or even reach out to us. And like, there's a big difference between saying you want to do something and then following through with it. But not even like a few days later, I want to say, he was like, hey, what's your availability looking like? So we ended up setting up a bioluminescent tour. And he was like, yeah, me and Tyler want to come out. And I was like, I'm just kidding. I was like, Tyler Cameron. I didn't say that, but in my head I was saying that. And we ended up hosting him, Matt James, Tyler Cameron. They had a videographer with them.
Shout out to Brown Bears.
Mm-hmm. And then they had, there's 2 videographers, right?
Yeah, he had one of his buddies come and help. I'm not sure if he was another videographer or not, or just a friend, but so it was Matt, Tyler, Brown Bear, and one other person that came out. So there's 4 of them, and me and Tia were the ones to give them their bioluminescent tour.
The first tour I've ever given, guys. I'm just kidding.
And it was kind of crazy, like a full circle moment, because if you've listened to one of our past episodes, we talked about how this company came to be. And one of our first ever dates was on a bioluminescent tour with a different company at this very location. So it was kind of crazy. Like 4 years prior to this moment, we had gone on a date there and could have never imagined that we're now bringing out the next Bachelor. And then Tyler, who was a previous Bachelorette contestant and, with a huge following, and being able to bring them out and show them the area, show them our tours, and just be able to talk to them along the way and take videos of the whole thing and all of that. So what did you think of that whole experience?
Yeah. So obviously going into it, it could go a couple of different ways. Sometimes we bring out influencers and all they want to do is get on the kayaks and do their own thing, take some Instagram photos and get out of there. So in our heads, we were not fully expecting that, but we always knew that was obviously a possibility and we were cool with that.
We keep our expectations low.
Yeah.
And if you go above our expectations, great. But if not, then hey, that's where our expectations were.
Exactly. So we're just like, you know what, they might come out, be, fooling around just to get on the kayak. It's clear kayaks. Like they're going to get in, think it's really cool, then dip, get out of there. Guys, they were the best influencers we've ever hosted. So personable, actually very interested in everything that we had to say. Like they actually wanted a tour. They were videotaping with their videographer, wanting to get to know Justin and I. It couldn't have went any better. Really, really amazing people to hang out with and take out on this tour.
Yeah, and afterwards, we were done with the tour. Typically, at this point, people would leave, but they wanted to continue like playing around in the bioluminescence, and so I was taking videos of Tyler, and Matt was off to the side, literally just having an in-depth conversation with Tia about the whole company and just asking questions. They were like very normal human beings, but also just very nice human beings.
So that thankful.
So that was really cool to be able to do. And the tour was like an hour and a half, but we were out there for like 3 hours with them hanging out and just having a good time and enjoying their company. And so it was a really cool way to be able to have an influencer out and interact with them. And the content we got from that was awesome. So we had a really good time. That was, like Tia said, probably our best experience that we've had hosting kind of a celebrity out on a tour. And so it was a lot of fun.
And his season of The Bachelor was, great, obviously. It was funny being able to watch it after like meeting him in person. And he is just like he was on in person than he was on the show. So it was really, really neat seeing that. Justin has also hosted someone from the Bachelor franchise.
Yep. So we had Heather Martin. Was she on Colton season?
She was on Colton season. She was the girl who had never been kissed.
Yeah. So she came out to
got a hold of her.
She came out to Rock Springs, and it was funny because we just randomly searched like the Orlando location tag on Instagram once in a while.
And if you guys listen to our last episode, that's a great tip.
And so we were randomly searching the Orlando location, and we saw that one of the top posts was from her, and she was down in Orlando with her sisters. So we literally commented on her post and said, hey, we just sent you a DM. If you want to come out clear kayaking, send us a message back. So we sent her a message saying, hey, we'd love to have you. Looks like you guys are in Orlando. If you're free any of the next couple of days, we want to set up something for you guys. And she responded pretty quickly, and we ended up having her and her sisters out literally the next day from when we commented on her post, and we got her and her sisters out. They took a lot of fun content when they were out on the water. She was another great person to host, just super easy and gave us great content. So that was awesome. Who are some of the other people that we've had out on our tours?
Wait, I actually just came up with a brilliant idea.
All right, I'm ready.
If you watch The Bachelor, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about The Bachelor, Heather Martin showed up on Matt James's season. And she came a little late in the game, so he was like, listen, if circumstances were different. After the final rose,
circumstances could be different.
Circumstances are very different. He's a single man now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what her situation is. I'm assuming she's still like trying to figure that out with maybe him. I say we get the two of them
out on a kayak tour.
Out on a tour, film it.
Oh, man.
That could be a game changer.
That would be incredible.
If there's any chance that one of the two of you are listening to this, you don't even have to tell the other person that
however many minutes into this episode.
Yeah, we could just send you what minutes this is at. You guys can totally date on our tour.
Yeah, come on out.
And we'll set that up. What was your question?
The question was, who else have we hosted on our experiences?
Yeah, so we've hosted Ashley Green from the Twilight series.
Yeah, she was one of the vampire sisters, right?
Yep. We've hosted Brianna De Jesus from Teen Mom. If anyone watches MTV's Teen Mom, she is on, I think Teen Mom 2?
Yeah.
I believe. Yep. So it was interesting. It was out right during the COVID situation. So we had to get COVID tested. We did like a private tour. MTV film crew was out. Really neat experience. So that should be airing sometime soon. And we will, of course, keep people posted for when that airs. But they filmed our branding, and they'll be giving us a little shout out on the show. So really, really, really cool.
And we are potentially having another Teen Mom out, right?
Yeah, we're like Teen Mom ready.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like I think one of them sees that the other one does it, and they're like, "Oh, that looks cool."
You know who else we've hosted? Kelsey from Siesta Key on MTV. So MTV are our people.
Yeah, we love the MTV people. We love the ABC people. Any of the network people, we love them.
Guys, we love any people. We love all people. Anyone else that you could think of that we've hosted? But we've hosted like a good amount of photographers.
Yeah, we've hosted a lot of photographers. Journalists. I will give a quick shout out to Bella Bucciati. Is that how you say it?
It's Vella Bucciati or Bucciati. I don't know.
Something like that. She is a great travel Instagram influencer.
Yes.
She gave us some incredible shots at Rock
That we
Springs
still use.
Yeah, we use them on everything. They're awesome. So I had to give her a shout out. She also has a couple 100,000 followers.
And her photos are incredible, guys.
Yeah. Chris Rogers was another great one. He's very big in the GoPro world. He's always winning the $1 million competitions for GoPro.
Dang.
We had him out a few times, which was awesome.
We've had a couple of like YouTube vloggers come out before, which is really cool. And we are always looking for other influencers to reach out if they ever want to collab with Get Up and Go, or anyone who wants to collab and have dinner at the melting pot and give us some good content. And just remember, guys, if you ever are looking to reach out to influencers yourself and not, have them DM you, take that initiative, reach out to your local destination marketing organization, let them know if there's ever influencers in town, you'd be willing to host them. Look at the location tag like we talked in our last episode that we did together, and see who's at the top of that location tag. Usually they have a good following, they're in the area, see if they make sense. Even do Googles for celebrities, influencers in my area, YouTubers in my area. That is a really good way to find people and just freaking reach out. Like send them a message, send their manager a message, send them a DM, send them a Facebook message. Do whatever. Exhaust all options. Someone's going to bite and take the bait and you will be good.
Yeah, exactly. And don't overlook the smaller influencers.
Never.
I think that's a big point. There's probably a lot of local influencers, local bloggers in your area. So search for those types of things and don't overlook them because they usually go the hardest, like I said earlier, with the content. And they're pretty easy to find if you search for Orlando mom blogger or Orlando food blogger or whatever it is that you're doing in your target market. Search for that on Google and you'll most likely find something.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we were able to go over the do's, the don'ts, the best practices. Remember, when people reach out, don't just look at the surface, dig a little bit deeper, see if it makes sense, tell them exactly what you're wanting from this partnership, and get the most out of it.
All right, perfect. Hopefully all of these things that we talked about will help you guys in hosting and obtaining influencers to come out to whatever it is that you're doing. I would like to give a quick thank you to Tiance, the fiance.
I'm a Buzzi.
For joining us on this episode. As always, thanks for tuning in to the Building a Buzz podcast. I'm your host, Justin Buzzi. Tiance, the fiance. See you later.
See you later.